Throughout history, the Church has recognized something mysterious. There are saints whose bodies have been found preserved, seemingly untouched by time. Millions of pilgrims walk into a church in northern Italy every year, the Basilica di Santa Maria Ausiliatrice, the Basilica of Our Lady Help of Christians in Turin. They move quietly down the aisle, they step before a glass coffin. Inside lies a priest, dressed in his cassock, hands folded, undisturbed. People stare or pray, many take pictures, and many leave with the same question: how is this possible? And then something happened here recently that pushed this shrine into headlines across Europe. In 2017, something connected to his body vanished, and investigators believed it could be part of a targeted crime. The man in the coffin? His name was Don Bosco. Stay with me until the end, because the truth behind what visitors are seeing and what happened here in 2017 is not what most people expect. Don Bosco was born into a poor farming family in 19th century Italy. He grew up watching industrial cities swallow up children, kids sleeping in alleys, working brutal factory shifts, drifting with nowhere to go. He believed God was calling him right into the middle of that world. Bosco gathered boys off the streets. He opened workshops where they learned trades. He gave them meals and beds, and for many, the first adults who believed in them. He founded the Salesians, a community of priests and brothers whose mission was simple, but radical for the time. Protect the young, teach them, and lead them to God without crushing their spirits. People around him told stories that felt almost otherworldly. Visions and dreams, warnings that came true, moments when help arrived just in time. By the time he died in 1888, crowds already spoke of him as a living saint. And yet, the most enduring mystery would not come until after his death. Years later, as part of the process that eventually led to his canonization, the Church examined his remains. His bones were preserved reverently. A shrine was prepared for the thousands and eventually millions who would come to pray. Today, pilgrims step up to the glass coffin and see a priest lying there in stillness, clothed, peaceful, seemingly untouched. Stories spread and questions follow. But before we answer what they are really looking at, we have to talk about an incident that transformed this quiet devotion into a police investigation. In the summer of 2017, the calm of this holy place was broken. A caretaker noticed that something was missing. No money had been taken, no vandalism, nothing else disturbed, but a relic connected to Don Bosco's head, gone. Authorities were immediately alerted. This wasn't a random damage. It appeared targeted. Police gathered fingerprints, reviewed surveillance recordings, and followed leads. Within days, Italian investigators identified a suspect, a man in his 40s, known locally to the police. When officers searched his home, they discovered something almost unbelievable. The relic, still sealed, hidden inside a copper kettle in a kitchen cupboard. Reports later suggested the suspect likely believed the reliquary itself was valuable, that it could be sold for profit. The relic was recovered, safeguarded, and returned. But the theft exposed something else entirely. People everywhere began asking, what exactly is inside the glass coffin in Turin? And that question leads us directly to the heart of this story. The Church uses the term incorrupt very carefully. It refers to bodies that resist decay without embalming and without reconstruction. Don Bosco is not one of those cases. When his remains were examined, his body had decomposed naturally, as all human bodies do. His bones were preserved. They were arranged respectfully, but they were never suitable to place on display in their natural state. So the Church did something it has done in other similar situations. It protected the relics. A carefully crafted wax effigy was placed over the preserved remains. The face, the hands, the body you see in the coffin. This was not meant to deceive. In fact, the Church has always been clear. What lies beneath the wax figure are the genuine relics of St. Bosco, his preserved bones, guarded with reverence. But standing at the coffin, in that silence, seeing the lifelike stillness, it's easy to assume something extraordinary about the body itself. And that assumption has taken a life of its own. So what rests inside the glass coffin in Turin? Not a body miraculously frozen in time, not an incorrupt form untouched by decay. What rests there are the relics of a man whose life shaped generations, protected by a crafted image so that the faithful could pray with dignity and clarity. But perhaps the deeper question is not about what lies beneath the glass. Is the true mystery of Don Bosco found in his physical remains or in the legacy that refused to fade? Because today, across the world, Salesian schools, workshops, youth centers, and missions are still at work. Millions of young people, many who began with nothing, have learned, labored, prayed, and discovered their worth because one priest refused to look away. The figure in the coffin is only a sign. The relics beneath are a reminder. The living memorial is something else entirely. Every life changed by the conviction that no child is beyond hope, and no street too dark to enter. And in that sense, Don Bosco never truly left the world he came to serve. So what do you make of all this? Coffins, relics, wax effigies? Leave a comment below. Hit the like button now if you learned something you didn't know. And if stories like this matter to you, stories where history, faith, and truth intersect, consider subscribing.